Hello. In the last video, we talked about the furnace, but only about the theory. Today, it's hands-on. I made a few changes to the furnace. Firstly, as you can see, the furnace now has feet, so it can stand on the table without me worrying about my house burning down. Secondly, it can be controlled by a notebook, so I don't have to fiddle around with the small buttons anymore. Okay, so those are the upgrades, but what did I actually do? I wanted to make this staircase of colors, like blue, grey, gold and green, or something like that. But firstly I had to cut the wafer into small pieces because the wafers are quite expensive. So I bought a cheap glass cutting knife, but I have no idea how to use it. So in the end, after a lot of tries, I ended up cracking the wafer, and then I just used pliers to get small pieces, but they did work in the end. Although the pieces aren't very uniform or square. Now I have them all in this Ziploc bag. There are so many scratches, don't forget your safety gear. Then I loaded them up in the furnace. That was quite easy with the help of the UI on the notebook. In the first one I baked at 1000 degrees Celsius for an hour, and it turned out great. This really good, nice looking royal or Prussian blue, I don't know how it's called. Then I did a second one. Same recipe, just the temperature held for 2 hours instead of 1. And it was blue, which I didn't expect, but it was the lighter blue, which makes sense because it's like further in the spectrum on the graph, The third one, the third one is gray, it's silver, which I guess means that I somehow ended up in the middle of the two colors on the graph, I suppose. And the last one was gold or bronze. That one looked quite good. Now, if we look at the graph and the colors, it doesn't make that much sense because the graph should be linear, right? The oxide at 1 hour should be half as thin as the one at 2 hours. But even if we use the dual groove model, it still doesn't make that much sense. It's still quite a bit off from the perfect line. Now I think it's because of two things. Firstly, the moisture. As I told before, wet oxidation is like 8 times faster than dry oxidation. And if I do it here, this environment is not controlled in any way, and in a heat wave especially, there are great differences between the moisture content in the air in the first run and the last one, because I did it over 3 days. The second one is airflow. When the furnace is closed, this door is like that, there is no airflow. So at the start, there's a lot of oxygen for the wafer to consume and make the oxide, but in the end, there's less. Not none, but less. Now, does this matter for me? No, because I do not need like a exact thickness of the oxide. But it is a thing to consider that I could fix with like not a clean room probably, because I can't convert this into a clean room, but maybe a clean box of sorts, that I could control the moisture in the air and the temperature also. Also, I use this bent piece of welding wire or whatever this is to pick the wafers out of the tube and put them back in. I do not own like a quartz boat, but I really should buy one. Secondly, the furnace, even though there's like 10 centimeters of insulation, does get really hot. Like at the top, you can see some marks. Those marks are my melted gloves. That's one thing I could improve on. Also, the wafers are quite scratched up from my incident, the glass cutter, and they are also not chemically pure. I do have the chemicals needed for RCA cleaning, like the sulfuric acid, the ammonia, and hydrochloric, which is not here, but that's only needed if we want to make the gate oxide. Precisely. The point of this run wasn't really to make like great looking colors, it was more to prove that I can run the furnace for a long time without it breaking, or the resistance wire melting, or the Arduino destroying itself with the heat. And next time, I think I will do a little bit of patterning with not HF, that's too scary and I cannot buy it at the moment. I'll buy glass etching paste from like arts and crafts stores and try to etch patterns into my colorful oxides. But basically the biggest challenge between me and the working transistor right now is the spin-on dopant. I have the furnace. In the next video I'll try to do the patterning, which for a single MOSFET you just need basically 2 lines. Then I'll just need to dope the 2 regions to make the N channels in the P wafer, and then I just grow the gate oxide, which would be better in a completely dry environment, but I think I can get away with 100 nanometers of poorly grown oxide, and then just use the conductive epoxy to glue the wires to the transistor, and technically that should work, although it won't be very good at anything. But before I get the proper chemicals and the equipment, or a cleaner box or a room, that's the plan. So if you want to see me in the next video etch some shapes and maybe my logo into the wafer, hit the subscribe button, do it. That's all for today. Bye.